Hey guys, this is a introduction to our fifth and final unit, private security. Let me make my picture here. I'm basically just going to talk to you for a couple minutes about this unit. The field of private security has exploded, and I mean that in a good way, since 9/11 in 2001. Private security agencies, private companies realized after the terrorist attacks on 9/11 that they couldn't rely on law enforcement to protect their properties and their assets. They are just there's too many of them. They're too big. Obviously, local law enforcement is busy responding to calls for services and, dealing with all of the citizens of their city and their jurisdiction. So they can't devote much time to individual companies. So they need to hire their own security. And 9/11 really made that obvious. So the field of private security is huge. And if we were in class together, I'd kind of go around and ask you, what places have you heard of or that that has their own private security? Since we're not in class together, I'm just going to go ahead and name off a bunch of different industries to get you thinking about all the different job opportunities, career opportunities in this field. And all of these places are very, very different from each other. And so the job of being a security guard is very different depending on what you're talking about, where you're actually performing security work. So let's start with the obvious, retail. Retail security is stores that have products for sale. You've probably heard of shoplifters, and a lot of stores have their own loss prevention and security guards in their stores. So retail security is one type of security. How about hospitals? Hospitals absolutely have their own security. And I'm going to tell you that being a security guard in a hospital, especially one like Albany Med, that's as close to becoming a police officer at the age of 18, right out of high school, as you're going to get. They have some pretty crazy stuff that goes on. And so you're fortunate in that you live in the Capital District. We have so many hospitals, many hospitals in our area. St. Mary's, Samaritan, Albany Med, St. Peter's. I mean, it goes on and on. So hospital security. College campuses, campus security. So that's a whole other area. How many colleges do we have in our area? SUNY Albany, Russell Sage, RPI, Hudson Valley, and there's a lot more than that. They all have their own private security. In addition to those, there's industrial security. So industry, think of big manufacturing plants or big, production places. They all have their own security as well. One of the places that comes to mind in our area is Regeneron. Regeneron is a research and production company for pharmaceuticals. And actually, they've been in the news a lot lately because they're helping try to develop tests and vaccines and things for COVID-19. But they're right in Rensselaer, and they have their own private security, and they're no joke. They're very, very serious. And you have to think about some of these businesses, they're very, very competitive. The pharmaceutical industry is very competitive, and they have to protect their information, what they're working on, their patents, their discoveries, their, all of their equipment, because they could have a competitor try to break in and steal secrets or break in and harm equipment, for example. You have a lot of very competitive industries. Take, for example, the computer industry and the software industry, Microsoft, Apple, Google, and on and on. Even cars, Ford, Chevy, They're very competitive with each other, and they're working on new designs all the time. All of those places have their own private security. Security guards protect people and they protect property. So in addition to industrial security, hospital security, campus security, retail security, you also have residential security. So any of these nursing homes, assisted living facilities, apartment complexes, residential complexes, they all have private security. And and another big one is venues. So think about the Albany Times Union Center, Saratoga Racetrack, Proctor's. These are what we call venues. They're places where events happen. You learn that word back in courts and law with our trials, changing a venue of where the trial is being located. Well, venue in this context means in a place where events happen. So Albany Times Union Center, they have concerts, they have circuses, they have sporting events. I believe that's another one, sporting events, but that's a venue again. They all have security. And so all of those jobs are very, very different from each other based on where you're working, who you're working for, what the job is. But it's all in the field of private security. So that's what this unit is going to be about. The screen that I have behind me here, you can see here at the top, New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, DCJS. I've talked to you a little bit about them before. This is your license. This is the piece of paper that you get next year that will license you to be a security guard. You must be licensed in the state of New York to have any job as a security guard in any security capacity. That even includes being a bouncer at a bar. You have to have the piece of paper that comes from DCJS, and that comes from me because I'm a certified instructor to teach this course, 8-hour pre-assignment training for security guards. And so this curriculum is mandated by DCJS, and everything we're going to be doing week by week is exactly what they want me to teach you. All of the notes and all of those things. So, and of course, there's quizzes and exams along the way. But that's what, sorry, what the heck? That is what the next 7 weeks or so are going to be about, learning all about private security. And as I mentioned, you may work as an unarmed security guard at the age of 18. This is something you will immediately be able to get a job doing in your field. If you want to be an armed guard, because that's certainly a job, you have to be 21. But there are many, many opportunities, and right out of high school, at 18, you can start working in this field. And in fact, many of my alumni have gotten jobs in our local hospitals working as security. So that's the end of my introduction. Bye.